Our first destination lies in Montana, a state renowned for its majestic mountains and pristine wilderness. Yet, nestled near the city of Butte, is a body of water that defies all notions of natural purity. This is the Berkeley Pit, a former open-pit copper mine that has over time filled with water. But this is no ordinary lake. It is a vast, toxic cauldron, a testament to the enduring legacy of intensive mining. What was once a source of immense wealth is now a Superfund site of immense danger. The transformation from a bustling mine to a lethal reservoir began in 1982 when the pumps were shut down. Groundwater, rich in minerals from the surrounding rock, began to seep in, slowly filling the enormous chasm. This water mixed with the exposed sulfide minerals, initiating a chemical reaction of a terrifying scale. The result is a lake with a pH level akin to that of stomach acid, a corrosive brew capable of dissolving metal. It is a truly alien environment on Earth. The vibrant, almost beautiful colors of the water, deep reds, startling blues, and acidic greens, are not a sign of life, but of its very absence. Copper, cadmium, arsenic, zinc. The concentration of these toxic elements is so high that any living creature entering the water would face a swift and certain end. In 1995, a flock of migrating snow geese made the fatal error of landing on the pit. Over 300 were later found dead, their insides ravaged by the acidic, metal-laden liquid. The sheer scale of the contamination is difficult to comprehend. The pit now holds over 50 billion gallons of this poisonous water, and the level continues to rise. There is a grave concern that it could one day breach the natural bedrock and contaminate the local aquifer, a vital source of fresh water for the surrounding communities. This slow-motion environmental crisis has necessitated a permanent and vigilant response from federal authorities, a constant battle against the encroaching toxicity. To prevent such a catastrophe, and to protect the public from the immediate danger, the area is strictly off-limits. The Environmental Protection Agency has designated it a Superfund site, a label reserved for the nation's most contaminated locations. Fences, warning signs, and constant surveillance ensure that no one wanders into this chemical abyss. The only way for the public to view it is from a specially constructed distant platform, a safe vantage point from which to contemplate this man-made wound upon the Earth. The Berkeley Pit serves as a powerful and deeply unsettling symbol of the environmental cost of our industrial appetites. It is a place where the Earth itself has been turned into a poison, a permanent scar that will require centuries of management and vigilance. It is a forbidden zone born not of secrecy, but of a chemical legacy too dangerous to ignore, a silent, shimmering warning to all who gaze upon its deadly beauty. In the bustling heart of New York City, a place defined by its relentless energy and dense population, lies an island that is its complete antithesis. North Brother Island, adrift in the East River between the Bronx and Rikers Island, is a place of profound silence and isolation. Its crumbling structures, now being reclaimed by forest, whisper tales of sickness, tragedy, and quarantine. For over a century, this small patch of land was a place people were sent to be forgotten. Its history as a place of exile began in the late 19th century. As waves of immigrants arrived in New York, so too did the diseases they carried. The city, desperate to contain outbreaks of smallpox, tuberculosis, and typhus, designated North Brother Island as the site for its new quarantine facility, Riverside Hospital. Here, the sick were isolated from the healthy, confined to wards where their fate would be decided far from the public eye. It was a place of fear, a one-way ticket for many. The island's most famous resident was Mary Mallon, better known to history as Typhoid Mary. An asymptomatic carrier of the typhoid bacteria, she unwittingly infected dozens of people while working as a cook. After being identified, she was forcibly quarantined on North Brother Island, not for months, but for over 2 decades until her death. Her small cottage, now a ruin, stands as a monument to the clash between public health and individual liberty, a lonely testament to a life lived in forced solitude. But the island's association with tragedy does not end there. In 1904, its shores became the scene of one of New York's deadliest disasters. The General Slocum, a passenger steamship carrying over 1,300 people, mostly women and children from a German-American community on their way to a church picnic, caught fire. The burning vessel drifted towards the island, and the desperate passengers who jumped into the river were swept away by strong currents. Over 1,000 people perished, their bodies washing up on the island's banks for days. After World War II, The island found a brief new purpose as housing for veterans, and later, as a treatment center for teenage drug addicts. But by the early 1960s, it was abandoned for good. The cost of maintaining the facilities and the stigma attached to the island proved too great. The buildings were locked, the ferries stopped running, and nature was left to take its course. The island was officially closed to the public, becoming an unofficial bird sanctuary. Today, North Brother Island is a protected nesting ground for colonies of herons and egrets. Access is strictly forbidden by the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation, not only to protect the wildlife, but also due to the extreme danger posed by the decaying buildings. The hospital wards, dormitories, and staff houses are collapsing, their floors and roofs unstable. It is a true ghost town, a poignant and haunting ruin in the shadow of a metropolis, forever off limits. Far across the Pacific, within the Hawaiian archipelago, lies an island that exists almost out of time. This is Niihau, known to the world as the Forbidden Island. It is not forbidden because of toxicity or military secrets, but by a solemn promise made over 150 years ago. This 70-square-mile island is a private sanctuary, a living repository of traditional Hawaiian culture, deliberately shielded from the influences of the modern world. In 1864, the island was purchased from King Kamehameha V by Elizabeth Sinclair, a Scottish plantation owner. The king's one condition for the sale was that the new owners must protect the island and its native Hawaiian residents from the outside world. This directive has been honored by her descendants, the Robinson family, for generations. They have maintained Niihau as a private domain, where the traditional way of life, or kahiki, can continue undisturbed. Life on Niihau is remarkably different from the rest of Hawaii. There are no paved roads, no power lines, no internet service, and no stores. The roughly 170 residents, all of whom are of native Hawaiian descent, live a subsistence lifestyle, relying on fishing and ranching. The Hawaiian language is not just preserved here, it is the primary language of daily life. This deliberate isolation has made Niihau a priceless cultural time capsule. Access to the island is therefore almost impossible. It is by invitation only, an invitation extended almost exclusively to the Robinson family, residents, and occasional government officials. There are no commercial flights or ferries. This strict enforcement has fueled immense curiosity and speculation over the decades, cementing its status as the Forbidden Island in the popular imagination. It represents a world apart, a protected realm just 17 miles from the tourist-filled shores of Kauai. The island's isolation was dramatically breached during World War II. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, a Japanese Zero pilot, Shigenori Nishikaichi, crash-landed on Niihau. Initially treated with courtesy by the residents who were unaware of the attack, the situation escalated as the pilot, with the help of a Japanese-American resident, attempted to retrieve his papers and escape. The Niihau incident ended in violence and death, a shocking intrusion of global conflict into this secluded world. Today, the rules remain as strict as ever. The only way for an outsider to even glimpse the island is through a helicopter tour that lands on a remote, uninhabited beach, with no contact with the residents or their village. This limited, carefully controlled tourism provides some income for the island while upholding the core promise of preservation. Niihau remains a powerful example of a forbidden zone created not by danger, but by a deep and abiding commitment to protect a unique and fragile culture from the relentless march of time. In the vast, desolate expanse of Utah's Great Salt Lake Desert, an area larger than the state of Rhode Island is fenced off from the world. This is Dugway Proving Ground, one of the United States military's most secretive and controversial installations. For over 80 years, this remote landscape has been the primary testing facility for chemical and biological weapons, a place where the deadliest substances known to man are developed, tested, and stored. Established back in 1942, during the height of World War II, Dugway's mission was clear: to prepare the United States for the possibility of chemical warfare. Its extreme remoteness made it the perfect laboratory. Here, far from prying eyes, the military could release simulated and live chemical and biological agents to study their dispersal patterns, their effects, and, the efficacy of protective measures. The work carried out here is, by its very nature, shrouded in the highest levels of classification. The activities within Dugway are a closely guarded secret, but occasional incidents have pierced the veil of silence. The most infamous of these occurred in March 1968. An F-4 Phantom jet, on a test run, released the nerve agent VX from a spray tank. Something went wrong. The wind shifted, and a cloud of the deadly agent drifted beyond the boundaries of the proving ground and into the nearby Skull Valley, where thousands of sheep were grazing. The result was catastrophic. Over the next few days, more than 6,000 sheep died in agony, exhibiting the classic symptoms of nerve agent poisoning. The military initially denied any responsibility, blaming local pesticides or poisonous weeds. However, the evidence was overwhelming, and the incident became a major international scandal, shining a harsh light on the inherent dangers of open-air chemical weapons testing. The Dugway sheep incident remains a dark chapter in the facility's history. Because of the nature of its work, the security surrounding Dugway Proving Ground is absolute. The perimeter is monitored by armed guards, sensors, and surveillance cameras. The airspace above is restricted. Anyone attempting to enter without authorization faces immediate arrest and federal charges. The signs that line its endless fences leave no room for ambiguity. Use of deadly force authorized. This is a place that does not welcome visitors. Rumors and speculation have long swirled around Dugway, with some referring to it as Area 52, a companion to the more famous Nevada test site. While its primary mission is officially related to chemical and biological defense, the extreme secrecy fuels conjecture about other, more exotic research. What is certain is that Dugway is a landscape where the invisible threat of chemical and biological agents is a constant reality, a forbidden zone dedicated to preparing for the darkest possibilities of modern warfare. Some places are forbidden not by government decree or military secrecy, but by a force of nature that man has unleashed and simply cannot control. This is the story of Centralia, Pennsylvania, a once thriving borough in coal country that has been almost entirely erased from the map. It is a town with a fire burning beneath its feet, an underground inferno that has raged for over 60 years, and honestly, may continue for another 250 more. The fire began, it is believed, in May of 1962. A routine trash burn at the town landfill ignited an exposed seam of anthracite coal in an abandoned mine pit. From that small, innocuous beginning, the fire spread throughout the labyrinth of mine shafts that honeycombed the ground beneath Centralia. For years the danger was invisible, a slow-burning crisis that residents were largely unaware of, even as carbon monoxide began to seep into their basements. The true, undeniable scale of the danger became terrifyingly apparent in 1981. A 12-year-old boy, Todd Domboski, was playing in his backyard when the ground suddenly crumbled beneath him. A sinkhole, 150 feet deep and venting scalding steam and lethal gases from the fire below, had opened up. He was saved only by grabbing onto a tree root until his cousin could pull him to safety. The incident made national headlines and proved that the ground itself could no longer be trusted. Following the sinkhole incident, the federal government intervened. Recognizing that there was no feasible way to extinguish the fire, they allocated over $42 million to relocate the residents of Centralia. One by one, families took the buyout, their homes were demolished, and the town began to disappear. The state invoked eminent domain to condemn the remaining properties, effectively forcing the last holdouts to leave their homes behind. Today, Centralia is a modern ghost town. A handful of residents have defied the government and remain living in a handful of surviving houses, but the town they once knew is gone. What remains are empty streets, overgrown lots, and cracked pavement, including a stretch of Route 61, affectionately known as the Graffiti Highway, which buckled and split from the heat below before it was eventually covered over. Steam and smoke still vent from fissures in the earth, a constant reminder of the fire that rages unseen. Entry into the most affected areas of Centralia is legally restricted and extremely dangerous. The ground is unstable, riddled with sinkholes, and the air in low-lying areas can be thick with poisonous gases like carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide. Warning signs dot the landscape, cautioning visitors of the risks of sudden ground collapse and toxic fumes. Centralia is a stark and desolate monument to an environmental disaster in slow motion, a forbidden place consumed from within. Alcatraz Island, the infamous former federal penitentiary in the middle of San Francisco Bay, is one of America's most popular tourist attractions. Millions flock here to walk the cell blocks and hear stories of notorious inmates like Al Capone, But what most visitors do not realize is that large portions of the rock are completely off-limits, forbidden zones even within this public monument. These areas are closed for reasons of safety, preservation, and the haunting legacy of the past. Beneath the main cell house lies a labyrinth of tunnels and forgotten spaces that predate the federal prison. These are the remnants of the 19th century military fort that originally occupied the island. Known as the dungeons or bomb-proofs, these brick-lined casemates were used for punishment long before Alcatraz became America's super prison. They are dark, unventilated and structurally fragile, representing a significant safety hazard. Access to these subterranean levels is strictly controlled, the air is stagnant, mold is rampant, and the risk of collapse is very real. The National Park Service, which manages the island, keeps these areas sealed to protect both the public from harm and the fragile historical structures from further degradation. Only preservation crews and specially permitted researchers are allowed to venture into this dark underbelly of the island, where the history is layered, thick as dust. Another significant off-limits area is the prison's hospital wing. This is where sick and mentally unstable inmates were treated, and where Robert Stroud, the Birdman of Alcatraz, spent many of his years. The hospital is in a state of advanced decay. Lead paint peels from the walls, asbestos contaminates the air, and the medical equipment left behind has rusted into dangerous, sharp relics. It is a time capsule of mid-20th century medicine, but one that is too hazardous for public tours. The warden's house, once a grand Victorian mansion with stunning views of the bay, is now a hollowed-out shell. It was burned during the 19-month occupation of the island by Native American activists from 1969 to 1971. The ruins are structurally unsound and fenced off, a stark reminder of a pivotal moment in the island's post-prison history. Similarly, many of the residential buildings used by the guards and their families are in various states of collapse and are too dangerous to enter. These closed zones of Alcatraz demonstrate that even in a place dedicated to public memory, there are boundaries that must be respected. The ongoing decay is a powerful force, slowly reclaiming the man-made structures. The National Park Service's mission is a delicate balance between providing access and preserving what remains. These forbidden corridors and crumbling ruins hold their own stories, silent and inaccessible, adding another layer of mystery to the enduring legend of the Rock. Tucked away in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, there is a place that, for all intents and purposes, does not officially exist for the public. It does not appear on most maps, and its purpose is a matter of national security. This is the Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center, a sprawling, highly secure federal facility, and more importantly, a massive underground bunker designed to ensure the continuity of the United States government in the event of a cataclysmic disaster. The origins of Mount Weather are rooted in the deepest anxieties of the Cold War. As the nuclear arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union escalated, the need for a protected location where the government could survive a nuclear attack became paramount. Beginning in the 1950s, this site was secretly developed as a relocation center for the highest-level civilian and military leaders. It is, in essence, a self-contained underground city. Details about the facility are, of course, highly classified, but some information has emerged over the years. The bunker is believed to be vast, with private apartments for the president and cabinet members, dormitories for thousands of staff, its own hospital, power generation, water supply, and advanced communication systems. It is said to have everything needed to govern a nation in ruins, all protected by tons of rock and reinforced concrete. The secrecy surrounding Mount Weather is absolute. The perimeter is guarded by the Federal Protective Service, and the entire complex is a no-fly zone. The few who work there are subject to the highest security clearances and are bound by oaths of silence. The facility was thrust briefly into the public consciousness on September 11, 2001, when Vice President Dick Cheney and other congressional leaders were reportedly evacuated to this and other secure locations, putting its continuity of government plan into action. For the public, Mount Weather is a complete black box. It is a forbidden zone, defined by impenetrable security and the weight of its own solemn purpose. It is operated by FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which also runs training programs on the surface portion of the facility. But the deep underground component, the heart of Mount Weather, remains one of the government's most protected secrets. This hidden complex represents the ultimate forbidden zone, one created to outlive society itself. It is a place built on the fear of an apocalypse, a silent subterranean fortress waiting for a day that everyone hopes will never come. Its existence is a stark reminder of the fragility of our world and the extreme measures taken to ensure that, no matter what happens on the surface, a semblance of order and government will endure, hidden deep within the mountains of Virginia. These places may lie within U.S. borders, but they're off-limits by design. From the toxic waters of the Berkeley Pit to the secret depths of Mount Weather, each location represents a boundary. They are lines drawn by history, by chemistry, by tragedy, and by fear. They are not merely suggestions on a map but hard and fast perimeters separating the known from the unknowable, the safe from the profoundly dangerous. These zones are a part of our national landscape, yet they exist in a world entirely of their own. Toxic, burning, secretive, or haunted by history, they remind us not all danger wears a warning label. The threats they contain are often invisible, in the air, in the water, or deep within the ground itself. They serve as a humbling testament to the limits of our control, showing us that some consequences are permanent and some secrets are meant to be kept. To explore them in person is to risk life and limb, but to understand their stories is to gain a deeper appreciation for the world we can safely inhabit. These forbidden zones are more than just closed-off areas. They are powerful narratives etched into the American continent. They challenge our curiosity and command our respect, standing as silent, isolated monuments to the complex and sometimes perilous relationship between humanity and the world we have shaped. They are the ultimate proof that there are, and always will be places, where we simply do not belong.